Ah, right, you got me. We're doing magic. Hello, cousins, hello, citizens, and welcome to another Shatsong LARP Diaries episode. Today we are going to be covering magical skills. As you can tell from my total lack of enthusiasm, I hate mages. It's nothing against them. I just don't like them. It's my idea of fantasy, which of course is objectively correct because it's my opinion. is that if I'm swinging the sword barbarian style, that's the real hero. If I'm taking on a dragon that has maybe 500 times my mass and I'm using a particularly blunt piece of wood to beat it to death, that's pretty heroic. Shooting it to death with the medieval equivalent of an MG42, that's less heroic in my book. So my bias stems from that fundamental principle, and I to this day I have not played a mage character in any setting, and Menhirs Fate unfortunately will not be changing that rule. However, I am duly reminded by the kind people who wrote this wiki that mages do exist, and perhaps I should cover them, at least in some detail, and that is what we're going to be covering today. So, magical skills. We've talked about skills like Faith, Vigor, the basic skills like Rend and Crush and other stuff you get in your weapons. That they've been for warriors or for priests, and now we're just doing the equivalent for mages, right? So no biggie, no different, but well, it's for mages, right? Magical skills. Focus is a mage's ability to influence the world around them by drawing on the weird. I think focus here is analogous to your mana, and that is what is going to be powering your abilities. When you use focus, this represents using your mind, will, or just raw power to influence the world with magic. So please remember to roleplay this appropriately. Okay. So no muttering something under your breath and then fireballing someone. You've got to make this clear with the roleplay. Nice. A player can start with 4 focus, but may buy more with XP. Some spells will cost more than 1 focus point to cast, and there are several skills that require it in the game, and these will be covered today. You can deliver any call that's powered by focus with a foci. So foci are magical items and tools that allow a mage to utilize spells. It's a wand or a staff. You must be holding your foci to use any cantrips. Cantrips are a type of spell. If you use a focus call from the list below, and the target doesn't take a call, and doesn't explicitly stop it affecting them, then you don't spend your focus. Okay, so I don't know why I struggled with that. Fundamentally, if you use a spell and someone doesn't take the effect, or doesn't say something like immune, then do it again. You haven't lost your mana. Which is like any combat call, right? If people don't take it, you haven't used a point. Let's see what we get. So, weird focus. No XP to take this. All players who take mage automatically have this ability. So I think it'll be like hero or whatever it is for warriors. I can actually go and find it for us, because I could just use data. Vigor, yeah. So if you take Vigor, you get access to the Vigor points, the hero points to power your calls, right? Great. Magical skills. If you take Mage, then you will get your focus, mana, and you'll also get access to Weird Focus as well, or Weird. It's WYRD. I'm thinking Weirdstone from Mordheim, so I'm just going to call it Weird. There's no XP cost for Weird Focus. All players who take Mage skill have access to this ability. Characters may perform this rite to regain their focus, equal to the number of participants in the rite, -1, up to their maximum focus. This ability follows all rules for a rite, except a weird draw test is not required. I have no idea what a weird draw. I imagine this is some kind of magic randomization, a miscast if you're familiar with the Warhammer parlance. But this is just proving my point with mages. It's basically maths club. You've got to gang together to play play bridge as part of the rite, And then it's all of you minus 1, so if there's 4 of us in the circle, we'd get 3 focus. And if we only had a maximum of 2, then we'd only get 2 focus back. Okay, so it's just like the warrior ability where they can regain their vigor points. You can regain your mana points here as well. Alright. Next free ability is Identify. All players with Mage have this, and it's no XP. A character may perform this cantrip at the cost of 1 focus. The character learns if an item or object is weird. They will also learn what sphere the item is attuned to. This will also allow a character to determine if the item or object is corrupted. This cantrip does not work on living creatures, and this ability follows all rules of a cantrip. And the vocal / length of the casting is something along the by all the elements, but a section of minimum of 5 words. And then I identify this object. So it would be by all the elements, with holy flame and passionate sermons, I identify this rock. And we see what we get. Okay. So far, so good. I guess Identify is going to be important for discovering things that have the corruption and the weird on it as well. I don't know what a weird draw is. We'll cover that perhaps in weaving skills, because that seems to be part of rites, and that seems like a broader smorgasbord of, I guess, like a ritual. It's magical, but I think they're involved in faith as well. We'll need to come back to that. All right. Magical skills themselves. We talked about Mage. That's one that you get the previous 2 abilities for. That's 3 XP, and you get 4 mana with it per day, and those 2 spells. And for an extra 2 XP, you can add an additional mana point to your character as well. And for 1 XP, you can add an additional cantrip as well. So learn more spells by spending XP, or get more mana to cast said spells. All makes sense so far. So the cantrips list. There's actually a key to it. So there's going to be a name, the mana cost, the range, the effect, and the vocals recommended for it. So all spells will have a minimum of 5 words before the spell name, and the elements being channeled. Alright. Burning Taunt costs 1 mana, and the range is touching with the foci, so a wand or a staff, and then it's throwable to 10 meters. I did use the wiki search for throwable. I can't find it anywhere. I imagine this is just a yelled call where I might say, you with the pointy green hat, cast a spell over 5 seconds, and then deliver the actual call. But I can't find out what it is, apart from the fact when you throw a spell, you do not need to physically throw an item. This is a keyword that Menhirs Fate are using to mean that the spell may be a ranged spell with an increase in focus. Okay, so the effect of Burning Taunt. Rage courses through the target. They will charge and attack the caster if possible. If not, the closest hostile target will be available, and they will go and fuck them up. This is not a Berserker Rage, and it behaves as a taunt to attack. So I imagine this is used to break a shield wall up. The vocals, 5 words long. I taunt you at the end. So it will be by the elements of fire, 5 random words. I taunt you. And it's the word taunt that will be the call that a fighter will recognize. Counterspell. Mana cost of 2. Range is touch or throwable to 10 meters again. And the effect is this stops a cantrip or call granted by a rite or ceremony immediately. It does not let you counter a rite or ceremony. You cannot counter this spell. Okay, so it's the actual spell casting, the actual call. So if I did my Burning Taunt, that taunt you could ignore, but you couldn't stop them casting it in the first place, and then you can't counter the counter spell. Alright. So, by the elements of air, 5 words, I countered that spell. But it costs 2 mana, so it's expensive to do. So mages, I think, are very much encouraged to go on the offense rather than defense. Okay, Elemental Blast. FP cost 1. So that's 1 mana, apologies. FP is focus points or mana, it's all the same thing. Range touch or 10 meters. The caster selects a damage type of either air, earth, fire or water, and when used with a foci, this allows the next hit to use the selected damage type. So if I went by the element of water, I draw a Riptide to tear at you with a Water Blast. You could then call water when you hit someone, and it probably won't help on other players, but for like fire elementals, it's probably going to be their Midas touch. Right. When used at range, this causes 1 point of damage to the selected damage type. So it just does more damage at melee or at range, I guess. And we've covered some of the example vocals. So it's by the element of, insert your element here, insert 5 words here, and then it says XXX blast, which means earth, air, flame or water blast. Okay, ensnare, cost 1, melee or range 10 meters. Character is unable to move their legs for 10 seconds. This call may hit the shield or the target unless delivered by a ranged spell. So if it's in hand to hand and you touch their shield, it works. By the element of water, blah blah blah, I ensnare you. That's it, nice and straightforward. Heal wounds, no prizes for guessing what this does. Cost of 1, and touching through a foci, and if the character's foci is destroyed in game, they're able to cast a spell without a foci by putting your hands out towards the target person. Note, you should not touch them without checking in first, but you are allowed to if they give you consent, which is cool. The effect of the spell: for every 10 seconds the character has contact to the target and maintains constant vocals, they heal 1 point of damage to the target. This does not work on a character in active combat. They've got to be out of the line of fire, probably on the ground, wounded. And this does not work on a character, out of combat. Sorry, I read the same thing twice. The emphasis is on the target to count the amount of healing received, not the mage. So, as an example, by the element of water, I cleanse, purify, and once again make whole, and I heal your wounds. And then you would just go blah 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 blah. Of course, putting in words that are appropriate to the setting, but every 10 seconds you get a point back. That's pretty cool. Mend, cost 1, only melee range, no throwing this. The spell fixes an item that is being destroyed. Cool, great. Petrify, cost 2, range of 10 meters or touch. The character is unable to move for 10 seconds. So by the elements of water, I chill you to your bones and I petrify you. Shatter. Hey, favourite spell. Cost 1. 10 meter range or melee touch. You may shatter an opponent's dagger, one-handed weapon, focus, relic, or shield. This spell does not affect two-handed weapons, polearms, or ranged weapons. Now that is really interesting. I really like that. This isn't just a be-all and end-all. If you've got heavier troops rather than just sword and board, then they're going to be able to ignore this. Nice. The item is destroyed until mended and may not be used. If you attempt to block or parry with a destroyed weapon or shield, then the effect acts as if it had hit you. So if your shattered sword parries a blade, then actually you take a point of damage instead. Shattered items may be sheathed or put away and do not have to be dropped. This is to protect your Physreps and other players. Cool. Shielding. Actually, just going back to Shatter, for 1 mana, that's pretty good. Shattering 4 swords of 4 knights. That's pretty devastating. Alrighty, shielding. Cost of 2, range self. And the effect is for the next 30 seconds you are immune to normal damage. This includes arrows, basically any attack that does not have any call attached. If the call is attached to an attack, you will take the effect of the call, except for arrows, which cause rend inherently, but that won't work in this case. Apologies, I've read that wrong. See, this is the thing of mages, there's so much detail. I think my feedback so far is that this is, how many spells? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we've got 10 spells, which in itself I don't think is too bad. And the calls for them are the same as the combat calls, like taunting, doing damage, healing. I think counterspell is going to be the most contentious because you'll just have mages yelling at each other, but that's kind of cool. Mend I think is excellent. Shatter is nice and straightforward, but just remembering whether this affects certain weapons and not certain other weapons. I think a lot of it is going to be on the mage, because most warrior types will hear this, have no idea what's going on, and just assume the worst and either drop dead or drop a weapon or back off or something like that. I think this is going to take a bit of getting used to. But anyway, I digress. Shielding. Any weapon that does not have a call attached you're immune to. However, any weapon that does have a call attached, including arrows, so if I yell with my sword and yell rend, it will go through your shield. If I fire an arrow at you, it will go through your shield, because it also has rend on it as well. Those will go through your bubble. However, once you've got the spell on you, you are unable to strike any target or cause any other damage to another character. If you do so, the spell ends. During the spell, to demonstrate it, the caster must have their free hand open in front of them. Okay. Final one, stagger. Cost of 1, range, touch or throwable. If this hits a character, they are thrown away from the user 3 large steps. Nice and straightforward, just like the stagger call for warriors. So basically, mages are just warriors, but instead of having all melee, they've got, I think they've got a few more points to spend on their, like the actual amount of spells they can pump out. I think they've got 4 versus 2, if I remember correctly. Or it might be 4 each. Don't hold me to that. But you've got 4 here, which means you can pump out 4 shatters, 4 staggers, a couple of shields maybe, a couple of petrifies, 4 mends. I think mages are going to be quite useful. But if you're playing a mage, dear listener, read these rules and know them so that other people don't have to, because this is quite dense. Okay, right, that brings us to the end of this episode. I want to keep it quick because the magical skills, those were more combat skills. The next up is rites and weaving, and these are more like big rituals that happen in camp rather than quick fireballs on the field. And I'm going to do a separate episode for those and keep them separate when I've built up enough morale to talk about more mages. So until then, dear listeners, keep well, avoid mages, especially if they offer you a ring or any other kind of unexpected journey. Until there, friends, goodbye.